Alright, Second Life, building tips and tricks. In this video I'm just going to show you a quick little tip, something that you can do really easily that will significantly speed up your building times, and that is just this really most basic technique of creating a build template. Normally when you build something, it's pretty typical just to create a cube and then modify that cube and get started. And what I like to do instead of that is to have a more advanced starting object, which is a build template. So this is pretty much what you're going to want to do. Just create a cube like you normally would, and align it to the grid. And then you're going to want to give it a good texture. I have a specific texture that I use, which is my default build texture. It gives a lot of definition. I might put that in the sidebar for download for anybody else who wants to use it. So let me bring that up really quick. Alright, here we go. Now this texture is kind of nice because unlike the plywood, it gives you a lot more definition on the boundaries of your object, whether that's a cube or a cylinder or pretty much anything else. It gives you sort of basic indicators of where the boundaries of the object are, which can really be useful when you're constructing, especially if you're putting a bunch of similar objects together. Alright, so you got your cube, give it a good texture, something like this, and copy it. I'm going to take that copy and align it to the grid so that it's flush with your initial object. Well, this is one more thing that you might want to do. It's not something that I do, but it can be useful, which is to change all the options of your first cube, because every time you copy this cube, each additional cube is going to have the same basic attributes. So you have a material choice here. I like to go with plastic. This does affect various things like the physics and the sound that the cube makes if or object makes if it collides with another physical object. Wood, I mean, obviously if you're building something technical, it's most likely not going to be wood. It's probably going to be metal or plastic or something else. So I like to go with plastic as sort of my base material, and then you can go to the general tab and set these options. This is kind of up to your personal judgment. Since I open source most of my builds, I usually check this one right here and these three down here. That way anyone else who is watching me build is able to copy my build and modify it to their heart's content. So that's just another consideration. Back to the build template tutorial. So copy your cube, align it to the grid so that it's touching this other cube, and go to the Objects tab and make it as small as possible, which happens to be a centimeter square. So now you got these two objects. This is your fundamental build template. So what I'm going to do next is link these with the bigger cube as my root prim. I'm going to link those, so now it's one object. Now I'm going to go to General and call this Build Template, and then I'm going to copy it to my inventory, go to Tools, and take Copy, And there it is. Okay, so the point of this whole technique is basically this. When you are going to start a new build, you drag your build template, and instead of having to configure the cube every single time that you want to work on a build, you basically have something that is already 90% configured, in which case you can just get started right away. And the point of having the two sizes of cube is because, say you want to do something small, then you have the small cube to work on. I just unlinked those so that I can start building with the small cube. If you want to build something bigger, then you have the big cube to work on. You can just delete the small one or delete the big one, whatever. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a head start. Now, this is just the most basic build template. And what I like to do is have multiple build templates. You know, each one is suited for a specific type of build. Like if you're going to be building a house, for example, you might make a build template where the objects are the material is set to wood and they have a wood texture. So this is kind of a basic 3D modeling technique that can really speed up your build times. And of course you'll want to carefully title all of your build templates. So that you have some idea of which one you want to res when you're starting a build. So that's the tips and tricks for this session. Hope you find it useful.